Welcome back to another AC Milan Zone podcast. We're back here for after a little break. International break was tough. Ozzy, thanks for joining me as always.
Good afternoon, Steph. How are you doing?
I'm all good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Not surviving this UK weather, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, but it's getting warmer. Um, although not really. I saw some pictures today of the Milan training actually leading up to tomorrow's game. Obviously, a lot of wind, a lot of rain. In Milanello didn't seem too pleasant, but I'm sure they're all pretty used to it. Shout out to Anonymous since 1995. Hi to you too from the chat. Let us know if you have any questions, if you want to discuss anything, if you have any hot takes. We'll be happy to discuss them. If not, maybe Ozzy, we can start with the past game. It's on the screen right now for the viewers or other side actually. Um, Big win. The coming back from international breaks were usually pretty sloppy as a team as a whole. Pioli put on an interesting lineup. I want to get your thoughts first on that because this is something that, especially online, Milan fans wants to see a lot of, with Pulisic as the 10, and
Yeah.
Chukwueze, who's been in crazy form, and he just seems to be just getting better every game. On the right, what did you think of that lineup?
Yeah, so like you said, I think a lot of Milan fans online have been shouting for Pulisic to be playing in cam for a change, and trying to use Chukwueze. Um, I thought it went well. I thought he Pulisic brings something else than Ruben Loftus-Cheek usually does. I feel like Ruben Loftus-Cheek is quite vertical in the sense that he'll either pick up the ball and then just sort of sprint forward, and he's good at that. I'm not saying that's a bad characteristic, but I think Pulisic brings sort of that horizontal flow, I guess you could say, and you don't really know what direction he'll end up going. And I mean, you saw the goal. Um, it worked, and yeah, quite straightforward win overall. I'm happy to see Chukwueze coming in and performing because we've been a bit on the fence of whether he was a good signing or not this whole season. But that could also be down to he had an injury early in the season. He new environment as well. We shouldn't take that out of account. But Pioli wasn't really using him and giving him the minutes to at least try to prove something. He'd come in with maybe 8-10 minutes to go, and then once
Yeah.
he came in quite for like half an hour and he didn't do well just before the international break. But he seems to be gelling, and it's perhaps a very good. I mean, Inter are out of reach, but it's nice to see something to build on for next season at least. And we're still in the quarterfinals of the Europa League, so that's a welcome bonus, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anonymous says that in his opinion, the front four played well against Lecce. We know that we struggle against low block teams, and he's saying that it's probably good to try to be a little bit more offensive in that case. Anyway, because our defense has been shaky anyhow. So if we're gonna be shaky in
Yeah,
the back, no matter how we play, we might as well play some quality players up front. Um, uh, I totally agree with that. We do struggle with that, and so we was glad. I was just glad to see that he's also trying something. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, I mean, Chuk is so needed. It was a bit of a shame that I think Okafor is in the past. If you go back maybe 2, 3, 4 games, was starting to get a little bit better, but not getting a lot of minutes. But then sort of the rise of Chuk, who also obviously didn't go into the international break, so he was fresh, kind of prevents him to play a little bit. It would be
yeah,
great to see a little bit more of him because Lord knows we're gonna need the subs up front to come through. And to be fair, they have both Jovic in very limited minutes. Okafor I think has been good, and now Chuk. I mean, great game for me. Man of the match. You could make a case for him being man of the match in a couple of the last games actually. Um,
yeah,
and this lineup allows him to be able to play one on one because there's so many players. You need to have obviously one or two center backs on Giroud. You need to have two people on Leao, or he's gonna burn you. Someone's gonna
yeah.
guard Pulisic, and so you're bound to leave Chukwueze one on one, and he's gonna make you pay every single time, which is exactly what he did.
Yeah,
Um,
and it seemed quite well balanced. I think the
mhm.
front four. I think, and you're saying that it's a shame because Okafor had come into some sort of form and now Chukwueze as well. I can't remember the last time we actually were spoiled for choice for wingers and the front four. When was that? That might have been season we won the Scudetto 2010. Where we
Yeah,
had like Pato, Robinho, Kevin Prince Boateng, Ibrahimovic, Inzaghi. Um, yeah, it's nice to see. It's fresh. The banter days are hopefully over fully. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Usually it's like, we barely have like 8 good players. We fill on a
yep,
starting 11 with some holes, and if anyone gets injured, we're screwed. So being able to, yeah, just have Chuk off the bench, just have Okafor off the bench. There's still a few areas I think that we're not deep at all, but right now the
yeah,
attack is fine, totally fine. And if you go into next year, for example, obviously it looks like Giroud is 99% done, and going to LA, he probably should get that bag and little retirement party. We would need to buy a starting striker. But beyond that, I
yep,
see people talking about, we need maybe 2 strikers. I'll keep Luka Jovic as is on a great contract, low, not a lot of money, low
yeah,
salary. I'll keep him off the bench, no problem. We have some. The rest can go be taken by the youth team. Okafor can play there. Okafor can play on the left for Leao. Obviously, in an ideal world, Leao pretty much always plays. So anyway, Okafor would need to be able to play 2 roles. Otherwise, he's not going to be playing. Pulisic could play on the right. Chuk could play on the right. We're set. Obviously, given a Giroud replacement, the midfield probably could use a little bit more, maybe one more, especially defensive midfielder,
agreed.
and then the back is really where we struggle. Um, Anonymous, let me just read the chat real quick. Next season, a whole season in their feet for Pulisic and Loftus, and a whole preseason for Chuk without injuries. We can be contenders. Only need 3 new players next season. Yeah, I mean, I guess then you get into the debate of how much of the fault of our last 2 seasons that really died in terms of the league because of really bad stretches, right? We had last season some really bad month and bad month and a half, and same with this. We started off super strong, had a terrible little stretch, and then since I've been good. So it's about limiting that, and it's about what you believe that stretch, what caused that stretch in your mind as a fan. Some would say it's obviously all on Pioli. Some would say it's injuries. Some would say it's bad luck. Some would say that the injuries are Pioli's fault. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
I
it's
think I think I think we've also been a bit unlucky that when, for example, our forwards have gelled like they're doing now, our defense perhaps hasn't been as good, and it's vice versa.
yeah,
Um, it would be nice to just see the whole team being on in some type of form. You know, when Chow's come back from his injury, he's looked very shaky. I mean, we can just look at the Monza game from a couple of months ago. Um, I I think that's where we've struggled, where we've had bits of the team doing really well, and then other parts of the team doing quite poorly. It's never been like a constant. It's never really been bang average either. It's been sort of mixed performances from different part of the pitch. You know, Liao had a bit of a down moment before Christmas. Teo wasn't before he started playing centre back wasn't looking his old self in the beginning of the season sometimes. Um, you know, Giroud, I shouldn't say he's had a goal drought. I mean, I think he consistently delivers a goal every few games, or sometimes has a burst of goals. But it would be nice starting next season, just like Anonymous since 1995 said that we have, you know, the team has played a season with quite a lot of important signings, having one more season or having their first season under their belt for in the Serie A in a new looking Milan, and also, you know, a whole preseason for Chukwueze, etc. So next season, I'd like to see that we hit form with all the different parts of our team
yeah,
at the
no,
same time.
yeah, no, totally agree. I don't know if I agree that maybe 3 signings. If you count that we need a striker because Giroud is very likely to go, I
Yeah,
think in our mind we need a defensive midfielder, proper defensive midfielder.
yeah,
And then I don't know, in the defense, can you make up with one? We need probably a center back, uh, probably of a starting caliber, and
yeah. Because I
then
mean, Kier is not going to stay, right?
Kier
Hopefully,
is not
well,
gonna stay. Yes, so then you have
is Gabia
Gabbia,
going to
Tomori,
continue then?
Chao. So that's 3. You probably need 4.
Simic, I mean, he's been doing well when he's
Simic,
come
yeah.
in, but again, he's somewhat of a youth player still. Um,
And
I don't think that's
the
really
fullbacks is
titled.
still going to be a problem. We don't know if Florenzi is going to
Yeah,
stay. We have no one on the left for Teo Hernandez right now. It's sometimes been Bartesaghi, sometimes been Jimenez, but Teo has just been playing the whole time,
yeah,
which is a blessing. I don't know if Florenzi stays. Calabria is already a kind of a question mark of its own. So yeah, maybe if you get a center back, you play Kalulu as kind of the Calabria alternative, and then you just trust Jimenez and say, look, you're young, you're raw, but Teo plays obviously every game he can, and we see maybe. But we'll have to see. Anonymous also asks about what happened to the injuries since January. Uh, I think, I mean, there's obviously a little bit about bad luck, meaning, you know, sometimes injuries just happen.
Yeah,
There's a little bit of maybe about questions about the preparation going into the season, and that's why sort of they arrive later. Pioli's been a lot more careful in how many minutes people play, in how they
that's
rotate,
true.
probably because of the backlash. So if you see the defenders, I mean, our center backs, I don't think I've ever seen Milan change mid-game center backs as often as we have in the last 10-ish games.
Yeah,
And even people like Benacer, you know, who in my mind should start and play every important game. For example, who obviously had just finished Ramadan, and it's quite challenging, obviously, to play without food and water. And he's been looked after a lot in terms of the minutes. So I think that's what's changed. I do think that to talk about, you were talking about Chow looking quite rough coming back from injury, and also looking at the injury, especially at the center backs. I think honestly that falls back a lot to how we defend, which is my biggest issue with
yeah,
Pioli, is playing 1-on-1, full pitch, and the center backs having a massive burden on their backs because they're chasing strikers up to the halfway line, and then are left on their own. The Chow, the Tomori injury, all of those happen because they're sprinting 1-on-1 against usually a fast winger or a fast striker. I
yeah,
remember Chow was against Dortmund, Tomori was against Salernitana. Um, and yeah, so not only does that cause injuries, I also hate how it works because it exposes people unfairly. I think Chow has been rough since coming back from injury, but it's also tough to come back from injury and have to play basically a perfect game, because when you play in the system that we play right now as a center back, you need to be perfect all the time because you're 1-on-1 by yourself with no one behind you.
yeah.
So that's always been my biggest issue with Pioli. Um, I like what he does offensively. It's not perfect, but he tries things. He's innovative. He changes. Defensively, not so much. Um, Before, I guess we maybe switch to Roma. One more thing from Anonymous. He says we need a Kessie in the midfield. Without a tractor in the middle, will struggle. Yeah, I guess depends what you mean by tractor. I don't know about you, Ozzy, but I think we have tractors. We have people that can progress the ball forward. We have strong players. What we really need for me, and again, Ozzy, now you tell me yours, is a true defensive midfielder. Obviously, big helps, but someone who can actually just park in front of the defense, control the attack when we have the ball, but just get balls back, and then sometimes drop back and cover those spaces that are left by our center backs that kind of chase up the strikers. We don't really have that. Benacer is the closest thing to that, and he's undersized.
Yeah,
Adli has
no,
learned to sort of do it, but hasn't really got it, and the others just aren't it.
yeah. Reinders, I wouldn't call him defensive necessarily. He runs like no one else. So
Yeah.
if that's what Anonymous since 1995 believes is a tractor, maybe. But I guess sort of that physical presence. We've got Ruben Loftus Cheek, but he plays far too high up, and he's supposed to be playing sort of higher up in the pitch. So you can't really call
Mm-hmm.
him that physical presence necessarily. Yeah, Adli, physically he's not there to be a CDM in sort of the defensive mind. And now, okay,
Yeah.
Sergio Busquets, and now this is just your typical, perhaps some more modern day CDM compared to a Roy Keane. But a Busquets, he didn't perhaps rely on his size but his positioning. um but yeah, Benacer, he's from the Scudetto winning season, I can't remember how many interceptions and how many tackles and how many ball recoveries he had, but that was sort of that's what Benacer, why Benacer was so great, because he, even though he was undersized, even though he perhaps isn't the quickest, he still made it work, and his positioning
Yeah.
helped him. But when
And
he
just
doesn't have
recovers so
that,
many balls.
yeah, if he doesn't have that, then you'll see that he's not defensively as strong. And then that's where perhaps his physicality would be playing a bigger part. But obviously, he's a bit undersized.
Yeah. Yeah. No. No. Totally agree. I do think I'm willing to die on this hill as well. Kessie, I cannot believe that Milan or any other club, and I'm looking at Premier League clubs that go by CDMs. Your Chelsea, of course, is the biggest example with Caicedo and Lavia. There's players like that. If you just want a CDM that's just like there to grab balls back and run a lot, there's literally an infinite number of players that could just do that job well. Now, there's not a lot of like maestros that can do both sides of the ball,
Yeah.
that can have vision, that can get a team clicking like a Rodri or like even like a Rice is doing right now at Arsenal. That's rare. But in terms of CDM, like Chelsea, we're looking, there's a million, and it's incredible that Caicedo goes for 115 million, and Kessie, who's 26, Kessie's 26 years old still, goes
Yeah.
for, what did he go for? 15 million, 20 million? I would honestly have him back in a heartbeat. And I know people hate it, and I know we shouldn't as a club because of the way he left and the whole, oh, I'll sign,
Yeah,
and then he
that's
won't
what ruined
sign.
it. It wasn't necessarily his footballing abilities. It was
Yeah.
sort of a character, his sort of character,
Yeah,
and
and so
how
out
he
of
left.
principle, you probably shouldn't have it back, and that's the correct decision. But
Yeah,
tactically, I mean, back in a heartbeat for 20 million. Now, obviously, it's 20 million to the club, and then he also went to chase a massive bag in Saudi, but that's beyond the point. But yeah, I think
yeah,
one of those, and then I mean, hopefully he stays healthy. Now, Kalulu got super unlucky this season, but to me, having Kalulu as a right back starter, and I know this is a particular popular opinion, of course, on Milan Twitter and whatnot, but works just so well because how much Theo pushes forward. Having someone big who can fight, and I don't even dislike Calabria as much as the probably average Milan fan does.
yeah,
But he does struggle. He's quite small. Having somebody who can be a bit more defensive because of how much Theo pushes on the other side, I think that combined with a proper CDM at times, uh, and we'd be golden.
yeah. Like Kalulu's played centre back for us as well for quite a lot.
Hmm.
So he's got that experience. And yeah, Kalulu, I don't think he should ever really be going forward. I love Pierre Kalulu, but his touch isn't the greatest. So
He's touching
if
good, but he's
if that
whipped up some crosses here, some
yeah,
sexy crosses here and
he's
there.
a professional footballer. He's not
Fair.
Mertesacker as well either. But he but yeah, because that's sometimes like you can see that when Theo pushes and Calabria pushes, we are quite exposed, especially when we play our typical Pioli defense of having the two centre backs straight on their forwards.
Hmm.
Um, it would be nice to see Kalulu come back because he's one of the bargains of the I shouldn't say century, but
No, but at
um,
least the last
the
five
last 10
years.
years, he was bought for very little. He's still very young. How old is he? 22, 23?
Yeah, I want to see 22,
23?
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And he's already got over 100 games for Milan. Yeah, I would like to see him healthy because he'd be a great addition. Just like Anonymous since 1995 said, just have a relatively injury-free season next year
Yeah.
because I think that's essentially what I mean. Inter have been incredible, but I think that's really what's hurt Milan the most. It's not everyone's complaining. A lot of Milan Twitter is complaining about Pioli. I can somewhat agree, but I think it is the injuries that I mean, especially in the beginning of the season where you sort of you don't see it going your way. We crash out of the Champions League. We were miles behind. We were miles behind Inter from the get go. That can't have helped our morale. Uh, so just having a
Hmm.
consistency of a starting 11 as well.
Yeah, yeah. If we speak about the starting 11, maybe we can transition to tomorrow's game. Um,
Yep.
how we both think Pioli is going to line up and maybe how we think he should line up. Obviously, a giant loss for us, honestly, Tomori, who is suspended, who is one yellow away again in Serie A from being suspended. So at strong risk of
How
missing the
how many of
derby.
those yellow cards have been complained to the referees as
Oh
well?
my God, yeah. The latest in Serie A was
He's a good actor. He's a great actor when he
for
sort of is shocked.
yeah, it's kind of crazy though because it's been his whole time at Milan that he freaks out, and sometimes he's right, but he overly reacts. Even
Yeah,
when he's right, he overly reacts, and obviously when he's wrong, he definitely overreacts. And it's been his whole tenure at Milan like this. To me, it's insane that after a while we say, "Hey, we
cut it out.
can't. You're a center back. You're gonna get yellows, especially the way we play. We can't have you getting
Yeah.
yellows because you complain. The last one was for
Yeah.
kicking. I think it was, to be honest, a nonsense call, but was for kicking the ball out. But yeah, anyway, for
Yeah.
him,
Didn't Liao retweet that?
yeah,
Like they
because yeah,
compared it
Barella done
to
much
was it
worse.
Barella? Yeah.
Yeah. But that's yeah
I like
the
that.
usual Inter stuff this year. Um, yeah, massive loss for us because he's obviously by far our best center back, and the way we play, the only one that's mobile enough while also good at defending. Um,
Yeah.
it seems that it obviously will be Gabbia paired by one of Kier and Chao. Chao was obviously coming back from a little injury himself, so Kier seems slightly ahead, but they were gonna see in today's training. Who do you think should play? And would you also go again with the Leao, Pulisic, Chukwueze, or would you revert back to how we were playing before?
Yeah, I mean, I think because Chukwueze played so well, I think you kind of you should give him the heads up, or sort of you should probably start him because it worked so well. Why not try it against a Roma who have sort of have gone down a bit since De Rossi came back. Um, but then again, Pulisic, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Rafael have been playing so much this season. They know each other probably better than another duo or trio. So I'm trying to look at Roma's starting 11 as well. What would work better? I can't say I've seen Angelino play a lot for Roma yet. That midfield of like Cristante, Paredes, Pellegrini. Maybe Ruben Loftus-Cheek would have better luck playing in that sort of cam role against them.
Yeah, and he
Pulisic
also
is
brings a bit more
hopefully,
balance.
yeah. So I think we should actually stick to Pulisic, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and Rafael just
Yeah,
because they played so much and it's worked. It's not that they're a terrible trio, right? They've done well, because it's a big game and Chukwueze hasn't been playing a lot. He played a lot on Saturday, so and there was probably a reason why we played those three because Pioli had in mind to have Pulisic, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and Leao
yeah,
playing against Roma.
and obviously, yeah, obviously, Luftus was also suspended against Lecce. Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely and probably the correct call. I do agree with you.
Yeah,
For the defense, I don't know. I mean, the Kier and Gabi did well
Kierlo.
against Roma before, but it's such a different Roma. All you need to do was stick by Lukaku. Lukaku was by himself getting one or two long balls, every 25 minutes. That's pretty easy to defend. Yeah, just
Yeah,
have to be physical. It's a different Roma now that attack the space, that kind of go on the run, and having both Gabbia and Kier could be a bit of a
yeah,
danger, but Chow, it's not exactly been flawless return for him. I would have a feeling that he goes with Kier. To be honest, I don't really know what the right choice is. Probably maybe Kier at the moment, but the correct call is probably to assess training and then go from there. The rest
yeah.
should be pretty set. Obviously, Magnan. I don't see Florenzi starting over Calabria for any reason now. Obviously, Theo, Benacer, Reinders, Luftus. I did see a story by Okafor, not just the usual kind of game promo that they post the day off, but like a little photo from training with "See you tomorrow" caption written in. That could very well mean nothing, of course, but then is an unusual behavior, so it makes me think that maybe he might get a nod over Giroud. Again, very unlikely. We know how important Giroud is for us and how much Pioli loves him, so I would definitely not bet that Okafor takes his place, but something worth noting.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind it necessarily. Giroud, I think for the past 3 seasons, has been playing far too much because of
Yeah,
injuries and
true.
whatnot. I think for the first game in a two-leg tie, you probably start Giroud because then you sort of stick to your guns, you know what works. And then in the second game or in the return leg, if it hasn't been working against Mancini and Diego Llorente, then maybe you try Okafor for a bit more pace. I would stick with Giroud.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with Oliviero, and he's earned every bit of trust. Plus, he's got that pedigree, that European pedigree, which I think will
Yeah,
be important. I think it's a Roma team that obviously been to a couple of finals and Europa League final last year. But a little bit nervous. I think there's a lot of players that aren't as experienced, and our team is filled with players that last year went in Champions League semi-final, with Champions League winning caliber player like Pulisic, players that have won this trophy before like Giroud. So I think that will be
Yeah.
important. First game at home, we've been doing well so far like that. What do you like our chances? Do you think this is a must-win game for us, knowing that we're going to Rome next, or would you settle for a draw and then take your chances
No, I
at the
think I think
Olympico?
we're gonna have to. I think we kind of have to win the first one because we've got Inter in, is it 11 days as well? I think Roma is obviously. I don't know who are we playing on Saturday. I forget, or Sunday.
We're playing Sassuolo and then it's the derby.
Oh, Sassuolo. Oof. We never do well against Sassuolo.
True,
I think we're
but
gonna have to
they
win
are
this one
struggling.
just to keep that momentum. Otherwise, it can go wrong very quickly, considering our schedule.
Yeah, no, um,
Yeah,
agreed. Uh,
and
and
going
and
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 going
San Siro is
and
a
going
massive advantage for us in those European nights. I mean, it gets so loud, the atmosphere is perfect. Um, yeah,
going to the Stadio Olimpico as well. Is never an easy job.
yeah.
I
I mean,
think
speaking of
it's
atmosphere, oof.
yeah. I think although Milan players are used to a Stadio Olimpico and vice versa, so I think
Hmm.
that kind of, I shouldn't say cancels it out, but it's nothing brand new. It's not like Milan is going away to like a fully packed Bayer Leverkusen stadium now. I can't say I've watched too many Bayer Leverkusen games, but I'm sure it's a big Bundesliga team. They would have some crazy tifo as well. So I think it's that kind that cancels itself out because we're so used to playing these big games against Roma, and they always get quite heated. I think thanks to Mourinho the last few years,
Yeah, I'm
at
hoping it's
least
a little less heated because of that.
on paper, but realistically, footballing wise, we've been quite dominant.
Yes, yes, yes. I like our chances too. Should be a fun game, honestly. The way we've been pretty attacking and hitting our best form of the season, and honestly, from a sort of unbiased perspective, the way we also been conceding so much at the back, and the way that Rossi is been willing to attack a lot more, also conceding a fair amount of chances against various teams. It's set obviously
Yeah.
for football could be also a very scared game where they both don't do anything. It's 0-0, but it sets up the table for a very entertaining couple games. It will be interesting to see. Um, yeah. Do you have any? It's just just over 24 hours until the game. Do you have any predictions?
I think it's going to be a 2-0 Milan win.
Big win, 2 goal margin in a European tie, and
Yeah,
clean sheet. I mean, that would be a dream. I would sign for
yeah.
that right away.
Because I
Goals?
think Roma have been struggling the last 4 games to score goals. They've scored one, two, 3 goals in 4 games. Of course, they've not conceded in 3 of them, but they just haven't really been scoring a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
Their game
whilst they
against
sort of
Lecce as well. They should have.
yeah,
We dominated. Maybe Lecce was also poor, but Lecce could have and should have won against Roma.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'll be curious to see. Obviously, we also have come from a 3-0 against Lecce where the game was kind of over at halftime with the red card as well.
yeah.
We didn't speak about that red card. Was that a red card to you?
Yeah, I think so. I keep saying this every podcast. I feel like in today's football, that's going to be a red.
Oh,
Yeah,
back in your day, never.
back in my day, nah. I mean, it was high. It was up here, right
Yeah,
towards the side of the. Yeah, no, it's super reckless. I don't think it's necessarily the with too much intent. It wasn't like
definitely
De
not.
Jong
Yeah,
on Xabi Alonso in the
but
World
when
Cup
you go
final
that high,
2010.
if you hit somebody,
Yeah,
you gotta be
that's
willing.
you're risking it. You're
Yeah,
risking it.
no, agreed.
That's more of a red card than the Saka penalty yesterday for
Yes, no,
Arsenal.
absolutely. Or yeah, or the penalty that Arsenal should have conceded. Anyway,
Yeah,
um, yeah. So we obviously had that game that was kind of over. They had a pretty fiery derby, which obviously
yeah.
they won, so maybe that
Mancini got
helps them
that
for the
final.
morale. But we should come in slightly more rested. Nobody's missing from them, I think, injured. We even saw Tammy Abraham, coming in the derby. Indica will
Yep.
be suspended, so we'll see, but fairly replaceable for them.
Yeah, I think
Um,
Aur is the only guy. He's got the flu apparently, as Moon has a thigh injury, but he's not directly important for their starting 11.
yeah,
Svilar, Svilar is going to start. Yeah,
yeah. If I had to guess 2-0, I mean, I would love a 2-0. I just see this as a high scoring game, to be honest. I see,
Oh, okay. Like a 3-2 or something.
honestly, I had 3-2 in mind. I'm kind of torn between 3-1 and 3-2. I'll say 3-1 just because positive vibes, putting out there in the world, better result. Um,
And we
but
do like to concede.
we do love to concede.
We
But
do love
Banyan
to
has been
concede.
great. Also, something that like he got a lot of shit this season. I feel like for not as being as good as the Scudetto season. Apparently, I feel like the last couple of
Yeah.
stretches he's been really really good and putting on an incredible save when we needed it most. And a lot
Yeah,
of
those
times,
contract negotiations went real quiet when Mignon had
That stretch of injuries and playing poorly in the middle of the season, and now
yeah,
they've picked back up. I wonder why.
yeah. Hey, money talks.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
don't blame him. I don't blame him and his agent.
yeah. And hey, if he helps us bring us a Europa League trophy, then hey, go get that bag. You do you. I respect it. Um, then yeah, I think that's about it. 2-0 for you, 3-1 for me.
goal
Uh,
scorers.
I mean, I'll always back Giroud to score in these games. Could be an incredible turn and finish. Could be just right place, right time, tap in. I just always back for him to put it in. If it is like a 3-1 where maybe later on they're attacking a little bit more and we can kind of counter on a counter, I'll always back Leao.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll go three different scores and I'll go Ben Nasser. This is
Okay.
a shout out to the big other quarterfinals we had last year, obviously Champions League against Napoli, where he bangs in a goal and plays a great game. Benacer, Giroud, and Leao to close it off. For them, Pellegrini, which is one of the players I fear the most at the moment, and
Yeah, it's gonna be like a
I'm loving watching him play. I hope
35
he,
meter free kick banger.
yeah, they're free kick takers. I mean, between him and Dybala, my God, I don't think Milan has had
Yeah.
a free kick taker that is good as either of them in potentially a decade, half a decade. It's
Yeah, I
ridiculous.
mean, when was the last time we scored a free kick? It was Florenzi, right? I think we've had this discussion on the
Was
podcast before.
Florenzi? Yeah, maybe Florenzi, maybe even Ibra. I
Yeah, I
forget
think
the
Tonali
timeline
had
of
snuck one
those.
in there as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm looking. I'm trying to remember the last time we played Roma, and obviously it's a different Roma. It's a different manager.
yeah, very.
But I think Leao is going to have Chilik on strings, so I'm going to go with
He always
Leao
has.
and
Yeah,
Theo Hernandez to score because they're just going to be
there's a
bombing.
shout.
Bombing down their right hand
There's a
side
shout.
there.
There's a shout. And he's been
Cristante
just great.
is Cristante's not great, I don't think. And Dybala as their right winger, obviously he's a bit of a forward. He's not going to track back Theo Hernandez and
Yeah.
try to shut him down necessarily. I think Theo's going to have quite a lot of space on that left hand side for us. So Theo and Leao for me. For the 2-0
Okay.
win.
Perfect. Then that's it. We'll see each other after the Roma game and before the Sassuolo game. Do we play? Do we know when we play
Let
Sassuolo?
me double
It's got to
check.
be Sunday, right? We play Sunday or even Monday, maybe. Let's see if I can find it on the
We
fly.
play against us on the 14th of April, which is Sunday, right? Yeah.
Sunday. Okay, yeah. So we'll do it before then. Hopefully, talk about a massive Milan win against
Yep.
Roma. Thanks for this, Ozzy, as usual.
Thank you.
I'll catch you later.
Have a good evening, guys.